teacher training ideas. Good things that went bad. For instance, at the turn of the 20th century, so 1901, the City of London was a big city, so was New York. To get around, people used mostly horses pulling things, carts and such like. And that was also how food got brought to the city. Yes, there were trains, but to bring the people to their doorsteps, to bring from the train station to the shop, it was all horse-drawn. Problem with horses is they eat a lot of grass. So incredible amounts of fodder had to be collected, dried and brought into London and fed to these horses. But also, from the other end, there's a lot of urine and an awful lot of poop. And this poop, at first, when the towns are small, this poop was really useful. The farmers would come in and collect it and take it to their fields. But as the town got older and larger, there was too much poop. And in the end, New York and London was sinking under a river of urine and a mountain of poop. And that's why there are steps up to go into the houses built at that time so that you could be above the poop. And then came the multi-car, and it was brilliant. It didn't require fodder. The petrol required it's such a small volume in comparison. It didn't give out poop or urine, and they didn't just die and then get abandoned in the street. They were worth too much money. And so the car and the buses and the trams that came along at the same time, electric cars. Before the petrol and diesel car got really adopted, there were a lot of electric cars. They were winning at one point. And they solved the problem of New York. They saved London. But of course, inventions that save, when there's enough of them, become a problem. And this is now climate change coming out of the exhaust pipe of cars and diesel engines from trucks. So something that saves can be, later on, something causing trouble. For instance, plastics. Plastic was brilliant. It meant you could make clothes that would last for years and years and years. Very strong clothes, rope. You didn't have to grow. It could be made any size you like, any color you like. Plastics were brilliant. They saved a lot of industries. They made humans a lot more efficient. You could make anything in any shape. It was the wonder material of chemistry. It hasn't been surpassed. It was the high point of chemistry. And yet, of course, it being so useful, just like the car, meant there was so much of it that then there were problems. And the problems with plastic are the very fact that it lasts forever. A bucket that lasts forever, never rusts away, becomes a problem. Because wasteful humans, rather than fixing that bucket, throw it away. Things became so cheap. Clothes became cheap. Pens. All of these things, rather than being reused like they were before plastic, they became cheap, colourful, and you could throw them away. It's the humans that made plastics bad. Plastic bags bad. They wouldn't reuse them like they did the things that were more precious in the past. They didn't recycle like the things that were expensive in the past. It's humans and money. If plastic was expensive, people wouldn't throw it away. No, it would be collected and reused. So that's what we have to do with plastic. We have to make it expensive so that a plastic bucket is more expensive than a metal bucket. But people will still choose plastic because it doesn't rust. Buckets, they have a water problem going on here. So we have to make everything that's made out of plastic 10 times more expensive. Same goes for cotton, the wonder material cotton. Destroying one of the most wonderful lakes in the world, the Aral Lake. The Aral Lake is dead now because of cotton. Because cotton was made cheap by the people in the area around Lake Aral and other lakes. Other places have also been disrupted, but none quite so disheartening as the Aral Lake, the Aral Sea, because it was enormous and has now become a desert. To grow cotton, cheap clothes for humans that then got thrown away, not fixed, not treasured. No one's putting a stitch in, putting the time in to make them last. Because cotton was so cheap, it was throwawayable. That's what people did. People shouldn't be trusted for these things. Cotton, should be made expensive, just like it was 200 years ago. Make it expensive. People treasure it. People look after it. People don't throw it away. People don't force the farmers to use all the water to make more of it. Cotton too. Plastics, cotton, car. Oh, plastics also had another effect, of course, on humans. Those wasteful humans, that whole species, not the individuals. You can throw away plastic and it won't come and hit you in the face. That one piece of plastic won't come, and microplastic pieces won't come from that piece of plastic and be in your food, as it is now. It's everybody's responsibility. It's the problem of the commons, when nobody owns the problem, then everybody abuses it. The commons were a part of England where everyone would graze their sheep and their cows too much, and it was turning to desert. It was becoming awful. It was becoming unusable. And the solution to this was take away the fields that could be used by everybody. Once they're owned by somebody, they'll look after it. And this is as true of the heaths of England as it is of the elephants in the savannas of Africa. If somebody owns them and gets money from the tourists, then they'll look after them. Until then, the poachers reign supreme. The local villagers, if they don't get money from the elephants, then the elephants aren't something they're interested in. Humans are greedy for money and possessions, and you always have to think one stage ahead of them. Give those elephants to those villagers, and because they've got elephants, give them the right to make the hotels, to own those hotels that the tourists live in. It's a difficult trick. You have a problem that someone will, with a gun, try and take it off them, or a government would try and swindle them out of it. But with careful management, it can be done. And then there'll be elephants in the future. Another thing for teacher training is a whole series of posters. I like posters. I like kids doing posters. Say to the students, you have to do a poster on an animal. You can choose any animal you like. Hands up. Who's got an animal that they love they'd like to do a poster on? It has to be a poster about your animal, 30 or 40 words, and it has to include how humans are harming that animal. Climate change, if you're doing polar bears, or although don't mention polar bears, because suddenly someone will go, oh, I've got an idea, and someone else had polar bears in their hand up already. Get the animals on the board, and then explain as the ideas are drying up from people, and they're giving them time to think, oh, hands up, that belongs to you, polar bears is yours. Penguins, oh, that's yours. Now, I'll write your penguins, I'll write your name next to it. If you want to change, that's fine, that's great. Any other ideas? One at a time. You have to wait if you're going to change before everyone else is. You won't be the first hand I'm going to go to. You've already had your choice. You can have another one. And if you have another one, someone can have your first. My kids love animals. Yeah, hippos. Fluffy hippos. Yeah, I always have something to say about each animal as it goes on the board. Yeah, the hippos are dangerousy. But yeah, how humans are harming your animal must be part of it. At least half of the information must be about how humans, could be climate change, CO2, could be habitat, destruction, could be plastics, microplastics getting into their bodies and destroying them from the inside. That's a good way of putting it. So then people will think about, hold on a second, if the plastics are destroying the animals, then maybe the plastics are, because they're drinking water and eating food, they're destroying us too. If the chemicals that is being put into water by the factories that make the pill and mobile phones, that water is poisoned and that's causing animals to be ill and die younger, then that water will be also having the same effect on us. Making people responsible by letting them have the epiphany, letting them have the light bulb. Yeah, lead those kids to knowledge and let them think. So yeah, the posters, carbon dioxide. I'd like them to say, in 10 words, problem with carbon dioxide. Yeah, carbon dioxide, climate change is getting heat up the earth, polar bears dying because of icebergs melting. And then also say the use of carbon dioxide. And let other people that are reading this make their own conclusions, whether carbon dioxide is a bad gas or a good gas. 0.03% of air is carbon dioxide needed for photosynthesis to make fruit for humans to eat. And other animals, being the implication. Which students do get after a while. Let the thought go around their heads for a couple of years and eventually they'll come, hold on a minute, it's not just animals being poisoned by drinking water. What about our water? That's where you get the scientists of the future from. That's where you get the activists, the politicians, the good ones. The ones who've got heart and a reason and want to change policies. Because changing policies is what politicians, it's in the name, it's in their job title. Yeah, something bad about carbon dioxide, what climate change is doing, and something good that carbon dioxide does. It's 0.03% of the gas in polystyrene, which is the plastic that your refrigerator comes in. Anyway, yes, it's the gas that keeps your Haagen-Dazs ice cream cold. It's called dry ice. It's the dry ice that bands use on stage to give that sort of misty stuff around their legs. Well, they used to. Nowadays they use smoke machines and the whole place goes misty and you can't see the band anymore. Yeah, carbon dioxide. Good, bad, you choose. Lots of things can be done with that. You choose. And it makes a poster worth reading.